Qatar obviously has played a critical role, partly in the release of, some of the hostages. Also, it has a direct line to Hamas. They've been a U.S. ally. How to deal with Qatar at this point, or is it continue to be a strong ally?
Well, I know the Emir of Qatar. I've met with him in Qatar. I met with his brother. I met with his mother. I met with the whole family. I then had dinner with him in the United States. Try to persuade him not to in any way oppose the Abraham Accords and the peace process that was going forward. I have a good relationship with him. He invited me to come to the World Cup. I didn't come, but I have a good relationship with him. He's a very, very smart man, and he plays both sides against the middle. And that's a valuable but dangerous line to try to straddle. And how long he'll be able to do it, I don't know. Ultimately, he will upset some people on the Hamas side if he goes too much in favor of Israel and the United States, and he'll upset the United States if he goes too much in favor of Hamas. Thus far, he's managed to maintain a balance that keeps him viable and important as a negotiator, and let's hope he can help effectuate the release of all the hostages.
What is the future of Hamas at this point, given the role that it has played in Gaza? Do you think that there is any scenario in which we can truly extricate them from the Gaza Strip?
The tragedy is that the people of Gaza have not revolted against Hamas. Hamas is the Palestinians' worst enemy. When Israel ended its occupation in 2005-06 of the Gaza Strip and all the money poured in, they could have used it to create a new Singapore on the Mediterranean. But then Hamas took over in a bloody coup and killed the Palestinian Authority leaders and exiled the rest of them, and created this horrible place in Gaza that could have been a wonderful place. It's all Hamas's fault. And you'd think the people of Gaza would understand that. But apparently, a very substantial number of the citizens of Gaza, the adults, you can't blame the children. But by the way, you're not a child if you're 15 and 16 and 17 and you're aiming guns or rockets at Israel. So let's understand what we mean by child. But a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old can't be held responsible. But the people who still support Hamas, who voted for it in the last election, who would vote for it today if there were another election, even though it has created poverty, lack of education, lack of jobs, lack of other resources, in the interest of trying to destroy Israel, you'd think the people of the Gaza would not be satisfied with Hamas leadership. But apparently they are, and they bear some moral, if not legal, culpability for what Hamas is doing if they simply tolerate it. Now, some of them can't do anything because Hamas will kill dissenters, but there are others who probably could play at least a more positive role, but they haven't been. And so I think Hamas has to be destroyed militarily in much the way ISIS and Al-Qaeda were destroyed. Now, it's not going to be easy to do, particularly in light of the hostages.
Well, I mean, I just, before we move on from that, I do recall having lived in Northern Ireland as a kid. What radicalizes you is who's bringing in the bombs, and you don't always. I agree with you as to sort of why Israel is bombing Gaza right now, but you can see how easy it would be for the people to be casting blame to Israel in that situation. So
I do, but history points in different directions. When Japan was devastated by 2 nuclear bombs, the firebombing of Tokyo, within 2 or 3 years, the Japanese people loved the United States. There was a military occupation, but within 10 or 15 years, Japan became one of America's greatest allies.
Yep.
The same thing was Germany. The United States devastated, and Great Britain devastated Germany. And then the Germans had a reckoning with their past, and they realized that their interests lie with the West. And so, no, I don't believe that necessarily that a total victory necessarily creates the kind of enmity that has been created among Arabs.
And both of which, those situations, obviously financial investment in building up those societies was very critical. Let me